be right. Preposterous would be even righter. In 2008, the country's financial system suffered an epic breakdown, largely the result, as nearly every credible observer agrees, of the decades-long effort to roll back bank supervision and encourage financial experimentation. The bank's stumble quickly plunged the nation and then the world into the worst recession since the 1930s. Now, this was no ordinary business cycle downturn. Millions of Americans and a large number of their banks became insolvent in a matter of weeks. $16 trillion in household wealth was incinerated on the pyre Wall Street had kindled. And yet, as I speak these words, the main political response to these events is a campaign to roll back regulation, to strip government employees of the right to collectively bargain, and to clamp down on federal spending. So yes, let us give the rebels their due. Let us acknowledge that the conservative comeback of the last few years is indeed something unique in the history of American social movements. A mass conversion to free market theory as a response to hard times. Before the present economic slump, I had never heard of a recession's victims developing a wholesale taste for neoclassical economics or a spontaneous hostility to the works of Franklin Roosevelt. Before this recession, people who had been cheated by bankers almost never took that occasion to demand that bankers be freed from red tape and the scrutiny of the law. Before 2009, the man in the breadline did not ordinarily weep for the man lounging on his yacht. The consensus speaks. The achievement of the thing is even more remarkable when we remember the prevailing opinion climate of 2008. After the disasters of the George W. Bush presidency had culminated in the catastrophe on Wall Street, the leading lights of the Beltway consensus had deemed that the nation was traveling in a new direction. Oh, they had seen this movie before, and they knew how it was supposed to go. The plates were shifting. Conservatism's decades-long reign was at an end. An era of liberal ascendancy was at hand. This was the unambiguous mandate of history, as unmistakable as the gigantic crowds that gathered to hear Barack Obama speak as he traveled the campaign trail. You could no more defy this plot line than you could write checks on an empty bank account. And so, The Strange Death of Republican America, a book by the veteran journalist Sidney Blumenthal, appeared in April of 2008, even before the Wall Street crash, and announced that the radical conservative George W. Bush had made the GOP into a minority party. In November of that year, Sean Wilentz, the erstwhile historian of the age of Reagan, took to the pages of U.S. News and World Report to herald that age's collapse. The conservative intellectual Francis Fukuyama had said pretty much the same thing in Newsweek the month before, and that chronicler of the D.C. consensus, Politico, got very specific and noted the demise of the word deregulator, a proud Reagan-era term that had been mortally wounded by the collapse of a much deregulated Wall Street. Now, the thinking behind all of this was pretty much straight cause and effect stuff. The 2008 financial crisis had clearly discredited the conservative movement's signature free market ideas. Political scandal and incompetence in the Republican Party had rendered its moral posturing absurd, and conservatism's taste for strident rhetoric was supposedly repugnant to a new generation of post-partisan, post-racial voters. Besides, there was the obvious historical analogy that one encountered everywhere in 2008. We had just been through an uncanny replay of the financial disaster of 1929 to 31, and now, murmured the pundits, the automatic left turn of 1932 was at hand, with the part of Franklin Roosevelt played by the newly elected Barack Obama. For the Republican Party, the pundit-approved script went as follows. It had to moderate itself or face a long period of irrelevance. And as it failed to take the prescribed steps, the wise men prepared to cluck it off the stage. When the radio talker Rush Limbaugh made headlines in early 2009 by wishing that the incoming President Obama would fail,